The night sky over Berlin was calm, too calm for what was about to change. On November 11th, 2025, a single announcement from Chancellor Friedrich Merz echoed across Europe. Germany would fund Ukraine's own long-range missile production. No dramatic speeches, no threats, just a quiet, strategic sentence that rewrote the rules of deterrence. For months, Berlin resisted sending the Taurus cruise missile, fearing escalation. But now, Germany is doing something far more consequential, teaching Ukraine to build. Because in modern war, the real power isn't in the missile you fire, it's in the factory that makes the next one cheaper, smarter, and faster. Tonight, economics met strategy, and the balance of Europe tilted without a single shot fired. Stay with me, because what Germany built this week may decide who controls the skies of Europe next year. For nearly 3 years, the war in Eastern Europe has turned into a brutal equation of cost versus endurance. Each Russian missile launched toward Ukraine carries a price tag of roughly $200,000. But every Western interceptor fired in defense, whether it's a Patriot, an Iris-T, or a NASAMS, can cost several million. In that math, even victory bleeds the treasury. Berlin understands this better than anyone. Germany's industrial heart beats on precision and balance sheets, not bravado. For every tank produced or shell supplied, there must be a sustainable cycle, a defense that can afford to last. That is why Chancellor Merz's announcement struck such a chord. Instead of endlessly shipping expensive weapons, Berlin will help Ukraine build its own missile industry, closing the cost gap that defines modern conflict. The logic is simple, yet revolutionary. A nation that can manufacture its own deterrence will never run out of defense. Factories, not front lines, are where tomorrow's wars are decided. And Germany, the land that once rebuilt Europe from ashes, is now teaching another nation how to rebuild its protection, one circuit, one engine, one software line at a time. But the real breakthrough isn't in the missiles themselves. It's in the quiet technology powering them from within. Germany's new plan for Ukraine isn't about handing over missiles. It's about teaching a nation how to build them. Behind Chancellor Merz's quiet announcement lies a strategic shift from shipping weapons that cost millions to helping Ukraine create missiles that cost a fraction, yet carry the same reach. The program fuses German avionics and propulsion software with Ukrainian airframe design, forming a modular family of long-range weapons. Engineers call it software-first warfare. One shared body can become many forms: a strike missile, a jammer, or a reconnaissance drone changed in hours through new modules and code. This approach cuts costs, shortens upgrade time, and keeps the system adaptable as threats evolve. Production will begin near Dnipro, away from frontline risk but close to Ukraine's skilled industrial base. Each facility doubles as a training ground, turning machinists into coders, coders into system engineers, and a wartime economy into a sustainable defense network. 2 initial variants are planned. The Model A Rheinstrike will be compact and low cost, built for quantity and range under 400 kilometers. The Model AXR Falk will fly over 500 kilometers, using low-altitude terrain, matching radar to slip under enemy defenses. Neither rivals a Taurus or a Tomahawk, but that's the point. These weapons shift the balance of cost versus effect, forcing the opponent to spend 10 times more to defend than Ukraine spends to attack. Underneath the hardware is a digital nervous system. German AI diagnostics predict component fatigue. Software updates fix vulnerabilities within days. Every missile becomes smarter after the last launch, a learning weapon guided by data, not just steel. This continuous software evolution is the heart of what Berlin calls deterrence by resilience. For Germany, the symbolism is powerful. Instead of exporting destruction, it exports discipline, industrial knowledge, quality control, and the will to endure. For Ukraine, it marks independence, no longer waiting for shipments, but producing its own deterrence, piece by piece. In silent hangars lit by welding sparks, young technicians now assemble the future not through politics, but through precision. Factories replace speeches. Algorithms replace improvisation. And the measure of power becomes not how many missiles one owns, but how fast one can build the next. But the real challenge comes next, when economics itself begins to rewrite the rules of war. For decades, the battlefield ran on a simple, brutal math. A defensive shot cost more than the attack that provoked it. A single high-end interceptor could equal the price of many attackers. Germany's plan flips that math. By helping Ukraine build long-range modular missiles cheaply and at scale, the alliance shifts the cost burden back onto the attacker. Instead of buying $1 million interceptor for every threat, defenders can choose lower-cost, software-guided responses and rely on a steady domestic production line to replenish stocks. The result is an inversion. Defenders spend less per engagement, while attackers must expend disproportionately more to protect the same assets. This is not a fantasy. In simulated engagements and early operational trials, distributed networks that combine locally produced interceptors, Iris-T batteries, and intelligent command software have driven down average engagement costs dramatically. The crucial innovation is not the hardware alone, but the feedback loop. Telemetry from each sortie feeds simulation platforms, refines guidance code, and reduces unit cost on the next production run. Factories become learning centers. Each missile teaches the next. Strategically, the effect is twofold. First, it forces adversaries to dilute their defenses over wider areas or accept higher risks to critical nodes. Second, it turns production capacity into deterrence. A working factory inside Ukraine is itself a strategic asset, replaceable, upgradable, and politically sustainable. Of course, an economic approach to war invites countermeasures. Opponents may use jamming, spoofing, or saturation attacks to force defenders into costly mistakes. Yet those counters are themselves expensive and complex. The more an adversary tries to overwhelm a resilient software-driven network, the more it pays in time, material, and political cost. In short, Germany's investment reframes the contest, from sheer firepower to economic endurance and adaptability. The battlefield becomes as much about factories and code as it is about missiles and radar. But when code replaces metal as the decisive edge, the next fight will be over who controls the software, not just the skies. Every weapon carries limits, even the most sophisticated. Germany's joint missile program gives Ukraine reach, precision, and cost efficiency, but also a new kind of dependency on code, data, and constant calibration. The Rheinstrike and Falke series cover the mid-range tier, roughly 300 to 500 kilometers. They're designed to neutralize drone swarms, radar stations, and supply hubs with surgical accuracy. A distributed network links radar, launchers, and command nodes through encrypted channels. Artificial intelligence helps classify targets, but humans confirm every strike. That balance keeps the system effective yet accountable. Its advantage lies in coordination speed. Within seconds, sensors detect, classify, and propose an engagement plan based on cost and probability of success. A controller authorizes it sometimes to launch, sometimes to jam, sometimes to hold fire. It's deterrence through discipline. But digital efficiency comes with risk. A jammed satellite link or spoofed GPS signal can confuse the entire grid. Russian interference has already tested these vulnerabilities, pushing engineers to create backup fiber links, offline caches, and autonomous fail-safe modes. The system learns, but it also depends on stable power, clean data, and secure code. Then comes the political boundary. Every kilometer of range carries weight. A 500-kilometer missile deters, but an 800-kilometer one alarms. That's why Berlin imposes strict oversight and software locks on guidance systems, ensuring the weapon remains a shield, not a spear. Still, within Ukraine's quiet workshops, a deeper message emerges. Power can be disciplined. The missile's accuracy is not for conquest, but for control. Its logic mirrors the philosophy that rebuilt post-war Europe's strength bound by responsibility. Yet once machines begin to decide in milliseconds who carries the moral weight of every launch, the smarter the weapon, the harder the questions it creates. When a missile can think faster than the operator, decision-making itself becomes a battlefield. Germany's partnership with Ukraine embraces this dilemma head-on. Every launch sequence includes a human in the loop the operator must confirm before the system acts. This safeguard isn't a formality, it's a principle. In the age of autonomous warfare, Germany insists that responsibility can never be automated. Still, the line is getting thinner. AI-assisted radar now classifies threats in milliseconds. Predictive software decides which targets matter most. The human eye follows slower, uncertain, trusting the machine's recommendation. The temptation is clear. Speed wins battles, and automation never tires. But speed without judgment can turn precision into catastrophe. That is why the entire network, from missile factories to command bunkers, is built on audit trails and transparent control chains. Every software update is logged, every engagement archived, every false signal studied. The goal isn't just efficiency, it's accountability. Germany's defense ministry calls it traceable deterrence, a way to preserve moral clarity in the fog of code. Yet security is never static. As systems evolve, so do threats. A single corrupted algorithm or spoofed GPS feed could send a missile astray. That's why NATO cyber teams and Ukrainian engineers now work side by side, hardening the architecture, embedding real-time verification keys, and testing against simulated hacks. The war no longer ends at the front line. It extends into servers and satellites. Strategically, this partnership also forces a new kind of deterrence doctrine, one rooted in trust. Ukraine must trust that its systems won't be shut off remotely. Germany must trust they won't be misused. Both depend on shared oversight, encryption, and political restraint. This is the invisible glue of alliances in the digital era. But beneath the technology lies the oldest tension in warfare: control versus consequence. If algorithms can target faster than diplomats can negotiate, peace itself risks becoming too slow. That is why Berlin frames this entire initiative, not as escalation, but as containment through capability, giving Ukraine the means to defend itself swiftly enough to make aggression unprofitable, yet controlled enough to keep humanity in command. Because deterrence isn't just about what you can destroy, it's about what you choose not to. And beyond the battlefield, one question still remains: what lasting meaning does this new balance of power hold for peace? In the end, this isn't just about missiles or range. It's about the quiet evolution of how nations defend themselves and what kind of world they choose to build in the process. Germany's decision to help Ukraine produce its own long-range missiles marks more than a military milestone. It's a cultural statement. A generation ago, Europe built factories to create prosperity. Today, it builds them again, this time to protect it. Yet, the logic remains the same: resilience through work, stability through precision, peace through preparation. The project transforms deterrence from an act of dominance into an act of discipline. By sharing industrial knowledge rather than simply exporting firepower, Germany shows that strength and restraint can coexist. Each missile produced under this partnership represents not just capacity, but accountability. It is a symbol of Europe learning to stand on its own feet firmly, but carefully in an age where every decision is measured in megabytes and milliseconds. Beyond the battlefield, the implications are vast. Factories like those in Dnipro can one day shift from producing missiles to building satellites, power grids, or aerospace systems. The same software that guides a weapon today could guide a rescue drone tomorrow. This is how deterrence becomes development, when the infrastructure for defense becomes the foundation for recovery. Strategically, the model points to the future of alliances. NATO's next frontier is not geography, but interoperability networks of smaller, smarter partners capable of sustaining their own defense while reinforcing collective stability. A distributed system of production and intelligence means no single country bears the entire burden of security, and no aggressor can exploit dependence as a weapon. For Ukraine, this cooperation means more than independence. It means the return of time, the freedom to plan, to rebuild, to imagine beyond survival. Each locally produced missile buys not just defense, but breathing room for reconstruction, governance, and growth. And for Germany, it closes a circle. The nation that once defined precision in engineering now uses that legacy to uphold peace, not threaten it. Its greatest export is no longer machinery, but method, the belief that control, transparency, and balance can keep order in a disorderly world. Still, the lesson extends beyond Europe. As technology accelerates, every democracy faces the same question: how to stay human in a world that moves at machine speed. True deterrence in the 21st century will not be measured by arsenals, but by adaptability, ethics, and shared accountability. Power is no longer what you can destroy. It's what you can prevent. So as Berlin's factories hum and Dnipro's workshops glow through the night, the message is clear. Peace does not come from fear. It comes from readiness, cooperation, and restraint. Strength, when guided by reason, is not a threat. It is a promise to keep chaos at bay. If you believe technology should serve peace, not dominate it, stay with us. In our next episode, we'll explore how NATO's AI command systems weave human judgment into the speed of modern war. Comment your view. Does shared production make Europe safer or more vulnerable to escalation? Your thoughts shape this debate, because in the end, deterrence is not about who fires first, it's about who stays in control the longest.